a minute, going live, and then it says you're live. And then up here, it shows live, and then it counts down the seconds or the time. And then when we're finished, we just click end stream. Down there.
Where's that? Okay.
That big red one. Okay, 7 o'clock.
Good evening. Welcome to the City of Mayville Common Council regular meeting, Monday, December 12th. Please take the roll.
Alderman Hinkle.
Here.
Alderman Bob Smith.
Here.
Alderman Reese.
Here.
Alderman Abbott.
Here.
Alderman Roger Smith.
Here.
And Alderwoman Olson. Did she come on here? I don't see her yet. So we still have a quorum.
Okay. Quorum is present. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any citizen comments tonight? Hi, Dawn, would you introduce yourself?
Dawn Gins, 10 South Main Street, Main Street, Mayville. I just have one question, because I shouldn't say the board has had so many numerous questions about our lighting on Main Street this year for Christmas. And I was hoping that we could have some sort of a official response that I can share with people. There's just been like a little anger that we're feeling, and I mean, if we just have something that we unified can say that either we're working on it or what's not working, that maybe we could just, put an end to that. That's my question.
I will discuss it in my mayor's comments and be happy to work with you going forward to figure out the plan.
Make a note that Alderwoman Olson is present on Zoom.
Okay, welcome, Kim. Thank you, Don. Any other citizen comments? So we will move on to the consent agenda. I will take a motion to approve the minutes from the November 14th, 2022 council meeting. So if you'd like.
I make a motion to accept the minutes. Motion.
Roger
I'll
Smith,
second it.
second by Hinkle. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Minutes are approved. Officers' reports. I'll start with this quick monthly report. Good evening, everybody. As you'll see, just in looking at the room, we've reconfigured the Common Council chamber a little bit to provide greater access and mobility kind of behind the scenes here. And I wanted to take a moment to thank Jack Hurst and the DPW team, Huffy, Jake, Scott and Holmansberger, who helped with all the electrical stuff. I think it's a net positive move, so thank you all for your help. Really, my presentation, I'm going to focus on two things. We're going to start with opportunities and wins, and then we'll move on. So first thing, in terms of wins, congratulate City of Mayville, congratulate Dawn Gint, Main Street Mayville, and thank Dawn for accepting on behalf of the city the 2022 Mid-America Economic Development Award for Mayville's revitalization effort. I know I was involved in the CDA just a few years back, and we had worked with Verbacher, and we had a game plan to help revitalize Main Street and bring in additional businesses and drive revenue with housing incentives and what for it, and it's all come together, and the results have been incredibly positive. So Don, I want to give you a tremendous amount of credit for all you do for the city. So thank you for that. On that note, yeah, thank you, Don. You've done so much, and one of the things that I've noticed as the mayor, and actually prior to becoming mayor, is that in a sense, unintentionally, Main Street Mayville Chamber kind of fell under a shadow of the CDA and Verbacher and what they were doing. And, we partnered with Verbacher, which is a consultancy out of Madison. They've done a lot for us. We had an objective. We engaged them. We spent a lot of money with them, and they've delivered on everything we needed. And I think, we're at the point now where we're ready to move forward and just partner with Main Street Mayville. And Don, I look forward to partnering with you and finding ways to work together and continue to drive that success. So thank you again for everything you do. A big part of this has been the inclusion of WEDC grants, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation grants. And we've had a few different businesses that have taken the option to exercise these grants or apply for these grants and win them. And we're grateful for those. What I want to say is, WEDC grants are just another arrow in the quiver. We have lots of different ways to help incent and attract small businesses and small business owners to come and invest in Mayville. So it's nice to have another option, but we cannot, it's super important to give the credit where really the credit is due. And it's the entrepreneur that puts it all out on the line and drives the business, right? It's their dream. So it's great to see those things happen in Mayville. With everything we've done over the past few years, Mayville remains highly livable. When I ran for mayor, my motivation largely was based on the fact that I love Mayville for what it is. My wife grew up here. It's a charming town. So many great things in my life are directly attributed to Mayville, Wisconsin. It means a lot to me. Maintaining its livability, maintaining its classic, small town charm is super important to me, and we continue to deliver on that. And I'm thankful for those that help us do so. Just recently this week, I met with some developers that are interested in coming in and investing further in Mayville and driving additional economic development, residential development. That's encouraging and positive. And I think, one thing I want to really emphasize here is if we look around the city and look at the departments, we are clicking on all cylinders. And I can't emphasize enough, and I want to start with the fire department, EMS, the police department. You guys consistently show up. Time in, time out. You guys are always showing up. It's nice to know that our residents can expect to receive, help when they need it. And we cannot, we must always keep it at the point where that if you call 911, you're going to get help when you need it. And we're there, and I'm certainly appreciative for everything you do. So thank you all. DPW, Jack Hurst, you consistently come from a place of service, right? You're always striving to do the right thing and help our community. And I see the citizens, they appreciate it, and I hear nothing but positive feedback, and thank you for that. John Wild, excellent job at what you do. Really appreciate working with you and everything you've done as the director of parks, so thank you for that. Michaela, real excited about what you're doing with the Tag Center and Rec. You're doing a great job. So it's fantastic having you on board. Jennifer, thank you for all you're doing at the library. We've got the new hole is in the ground. I think they're going to be pouring concrete soon, so it's going to be exciting to have that new library in place. And then she's not here tonight, but we've got to give a lot of credit to Courtney and the Water and Wastewater Department. If ways that the city could kind of take the lead on things. When you look at the lead abatement process that Courtney led, bad choice of words, but look at the lead abatement process, we're ahead of the game. And in fact, other communities and municipalities that are looking for aid in abating the lead in their residential area, it's not available anymore. And we're just about done. And so kudos to Courtney. So again, the point is I want to make is, all the departments are being led with an emphasis on service to our community and to the taxpayers. And so thank you all. Just keep doing what you're doing. It means a lot. Now, as we go into challenges and opportunities, this has been a rough week. We're going into a closed session tonight to discuss the resignation of 2 key city employees and to put together an executable plan to restore our city in a manner that meets or exceeds the needs of the citizens and our employees. And I know this is a significant challenge. I also know that some find it inconceivable that we can move ahead and be okay. I know that with good hiring decisions, along with revamping our organizational chart in some respects, we can move this to a net positive to the taxpayers as well as to the city employees. We're going to be okay. So there are some key aspects going forward with the city that I'd really like to focus on, and these are areas for improvement that I think I'm going to ask for help with the Common Council. There's 3 areas. Payroll, we need to be focused on helping improve our payroll process. It is such a drain of resources in getting payroll done. So we've got to focus on that. We must focus on receiving accurate and complete financial data so that we can act and decide and proceed strategically, financially. And it's important for our department heads to get reliable information so that if we're holding you accountable to performing against your budget, you've got to have the numbers in front of you and be able to count on those numbers so you can track your performance against your assigned budget. So one of the areas as well is if you look at City Hall in general and you look at the hours that we serve, I think it's super important to maintain standard hours of opening and not do summer hours so that we can be at maximum service and availability to city residents who may get off work at 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon, need to go into City Hall and get things done. They should expect to have at least 1, probably 2 people at City Hall any day, any Friday, whatever it may be, when they come to City Hall. So look, it's been a rough week. It's been a surprise. We're in the middle of what I would describe as adversity. And I think the key in dealing with adversity is what you do with it. So, it's going to define what our next era is and how Mayville best serves our taxpayers. So I thank all of you on the council for working with me to continue to drive further success. So moving on to last month, the Common Council approved the formation of a temporary committee called the Communications Committee. I've had some questions about what is that Communications Committee, what's its purpose, and what is our intent. So the why is, as you'll notice, we've got these OWL systems so we can transmit our meetings via YouTube. There are a lot of additional layers of technology that we can take advantage of, and they're not costly, that will allow us to keep things such as automated transcripts, mapping an agenda to the content in the video, and you can do searches. And if you want to search by a particular topic, it's going to jump you right to the spot you want to be on the webcast. And then there's things such as our city website. Our city website is a vast improvement of what it used to be. I still think we can recognize improvement and gains in how we make information readily available to our citizens. It's not as easy and intuitive as I think where we could be. The other aspect of it is technology is great, but if it's not easy to use and it doesn't make it easier for City Hall to get this content out to the taxpayer and to the citizens, what's the use? So what I've done is I've put together a team of people for the communications committee who come from backgrounds and have experience in technology and in webcasts and so on and so forth, and organizational optimization and process improvement. So they'll be working together to evaluate technologies and evaluate offerings and evaluate media channels to make a determination of how can we get the most meaningful content out into the community as possible and in the easiest manner possible. I think it'll be a net positive to the city. On the Christmas lights, I want to, so Foster Park, I want to thank Meadowcraft and their volunteers for helping decorate Foster Park. It looks fantastic. So special thanks to Annette. I also have heard comments and questions about the Christmas lights issue as a whole. And I agree. I want Main Street to be lit up. I want it to look great. The lights that we have on hand experience obsolescence. It gets old, it goes bad, and our budget, we don't have a budget for that. We need to find a way to raise money, figure out, and I'll lean on the finance committee to find a way to help augment, whether it's community donations or whatever it may be, to see what we can do. There's a lot of reasons why, we probably have to maintain a very specific focus to a certain area. A lot of our light poles, we can't post our stuff on, the utilities poles as an example. But in any case, it's something that we'll address. We'll look at. Dawn, we're open to ideas. So we'll talk some more and see if we can't find a solution for next season. So with that, I just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone, or Happy Holidays, however you choose to celebrate. Now we're going to move into the year-end budget performance updates from the department heads. Now, the intent here is not to get into the weeds. We don't need to go down to the account level. Just talk about through the end of November, where are you at performance year to date? Where do you anticipate to be at the end of the year? What headwinds did you face? So, Chief, for instance, fuel or whatever it may be. And then, are there any new issues that have come up since our budget meetings that we should be aware of for 2023? And the whole point is communication. Now, we've drifted away from department heads coming to every committee meeting, and we've drifted away from having these types of financial conversations. And I think it's important to have these conversations. We just need to find the right balance that works for everybody, and we'll work with you to do that. And I've promised the first spot to Chief Marks.
That's just the public hearing, I'll work early. Hello, everybody. All right, I actually have an update through December 8th from Tracy that we are at 86.7% of our budget. We try staying a little bit low compared to where we're at year to date, just because we want to do our tests and everything at the end of the year. So we purposely stay there. Also, one reason why we're quite a bit below, we have a bonus program that's part of our salary that will not be paid out until the last week of December. That's a $15 million bonus. With what we have bills outstanding with that bonus, I think we're going to land at about 99% roughly. It's going to be pretty close to 100%, unless we have some type of major thing happen that I'm not aware of. As far as this past year, where we had our biggest surprises is in repairs for our vehicles. I know we're not going to get into each line item, but it looks like those are averaging 300% above, 500% above, 984% above. So it's repairs for our fleet vehicles is where we keep on struggling. We spent about $20,000 more there than we did the year before. And I see that just continuing, but it's hard to know what we have because we just fixed everything that was broken. So I don't know what's going to break next, but that seems to be our biggest struggle during the year. For next year, since our budget meeting, I haven't had anything really come up, really change. The cost of post testing went up considerably, but we worked that back into the budget. We talked about that at budget time, so don't see any huge surprises for the budget. Questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
I noticed when I was looking at those HP specialists, there were 2 entries in there for the exact same dollar. Did you have something fixed twice that cost exactly the same thing?
I'm not sure which bills you're looking at. John usually does back and see. And maybe the bills would be exactly the same. And I'm sure if we're having service done, routine maintenance, I'm sure we have some good bills. We have the exact same thing done to the end of each year. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Jack?
DPW report, very good shape. The total budget, at 78%. And exceeded a major that is going to be happening here in the next month. I think our biggest issue, of course, is fuel. We're spending approximately $500 a week for the youth pickup. So that's two pieces of equipment, actually three pieces of equipment that were out there every day. And it was approximately, like I said, 500. And we do that for approximately 2 months. So our fuel price is probably our biggest problem we have this year. We pretty much get to do everything in-house except for major truck repairs and so on and so forth, but that budget's need to be done. There's a couple line items that you're gonna see that are over, but I looked at them today and there's something, you know, I have to need to like. A couple more items that it's just a, you know, getting it right spot, so. Other than that, I think we're probably in good shape for the rest of the year. And, should be cool. Any questions?
Good. Thank you for the work, Jack. Thank you. Julie, would you like to go next?
All right, so yes, we are over budget, as I'm sure you guys can see, but using me as we are 90,000 ahead of where we were last year. But our revenues far exceed our average revenues because of that. So everything's increasing, going into next year, it's gonna be, we're just seeing, we're projecting to end at about 100,000. So quite a bit of what we do for next year. That's really all I know, because it's pretty well, speaks for itself. So do you guys have any questions?
Your expenses are offset by your income, and you, because of the way we have it set up, your, the net number is much better, is not in line or better than we had budgeted.
Yes, it is definitely better than the budget.
Do you have any updated dates on the new ambulance?
No. We're going to base with them, we're kind of getting into the beginning of the year. I know that we are in line for the chassis because we got the purchase order, but that is all we know. So,
Yep.
wish we had better. Anything else?
Any questions? Thanks, Julie. Thank you. Michaela, would you like to go next?
Good evening, everyone. I will kind of just say, so today actually marks 5 months of me being at the job. Honestly, on a day-to-day basis, I'm still learning through all these things. Even like within this last month, I've noticed that like revenues are being putting in, or they're being put in the TAG Center fund, and they're actually supposed to be put in the recreation fund. So there's a lot of different dollar signs that are completely out of whack. But other than that, I know our revenue is going up at the TAG just with daily passes, membership wise. So that's honestly all I have to report on, but we are getting it fixed. Just with those misplaced numbers by the previous
Sure.
director. Any questions?
How many dollars are we talking about? Is it open on resolving?
Yeah, so
Roughly, high level.
rough, it's, to me, it's a lot of money, but I don't know. So with like rec league concessions revenue and these fees, it's like $6,000 that he was putting into the recreation programs revenue in the TAG Center fund. So it's a matter of putting it in the rec fund instead of the TAG fund. Around 6,000.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Thanks, Michaela. John Wild.
All right, for the parks, Parks and Senior Center, for the 2022 budget, we're at 82% for the year, that's when I got the report. We're at just a little under 80%, I think we're around 76, 77%. Big thing that we had this year went over, and it's like everybody else, pretty self-explanatory, gas. We did have buildings, if you guys have actually the budget in front of you, you can see it. Buildings is way over, and all the work that was done at the fireman's field for the vandalism that happened up there gets put into there, and gets offset from our revenues from the insurance money that came in. A lot of the insurance money came in last year, so I had talked to the mayor about a little bit, we're getting that straightened out. But it's gonna offset each other. There, if you see the numbers, we're over right now by 300%, and we're gonna be over by 1,000% by the time it's done, but the money's there to offset it. We did have an insurance claim ready this year that's coming in, so this is stuff for next year that I see coming up. So, talking about the Ziegler Park lights, poles and lights and all that. We got 2 more bids in, we had half the original price came in at $150. 2 local companies said they were due for $73. We've had insurance claim, for the one light for $12,000, so we're under around $60,000 now for those lights, to be redone up there. Meeting actually this week with some clubs, some private people, see if they'd be interested in helping, but that's just a heads up for next year coming up ready. Starting to get in the ballpark now where I think we can afford to do or move forward with the new lights up there. One thing we did have happen here is the, one of our skateboards, we had one of the capital improvements are. So, and we had more go down that we're not gonna fix. Yeah, it just doesn't pay to spend half of our new one on fixing the old one. With our budget yet this year, because at the end of this year here, I always end up pre-buying all our stuff and all our field supplies, all our baseball stuff. If we order now instead of February or March, when everybody in the world buys it, we get a really good deal and good shipping costs and all that. So I always like to get that bought in this year for next year. But I'm still thinking that I'm working with Nova Totors that I'm getting either paying half of it this year out of our budget, half next year, or we may be able to swing getting a new one this year just out of our regular budget. So, as it, so we're sitting good, and by the end of it, I'm hoping to be somewhere around that 94-95% with everything that we have at the end of the year. So,
Thanks, John.
any questions?
Jennifer?
Okay, so I calculated from the, that we should be at about 91% or below, 91.7 or below, and the library at the end of November was at 90%. So we're under. Regarding the end of fiscal year 2022, I expected the end of the budget to be at or under 100%. So I'm thinking it's going to be under, probably more like 98, something like that. And I think this is in large part because we were under in payroll. We were over in certain areas that we can't, insurance, utilities, and some other areas that we just had no control over. And we need to remember that in January, of course, bills are still coming in for December. So even though we're at 90, it'll probably get right around the mark. So I think we did pretty good in our budgeting this year. I think we were over. So now we're within our budget, and that's good. Challenges for the next year's budget, many lines exceeded the budget amounts such as utilities, water, telephone, health insurance, short-term disability, those other kinds of things. We don't have any control over those contracted services. Really, I had to pull some things for that were really contracted services. I ended up using money that was allocated for any maintenance needs that came up in county. Fund, so I took it from that because there really wasn't enough. So going into 2023, those areas I think could be, issues, especially with a larger building into 2024, some of the maintenance issues like, some of the contracted services like landscaping or windows. We're gonna have a lot more windows, mats, cleaning. We can't have just one person do 4 hours a week. So some of those contracted services are going to up a little bit.
Okay.
But overall, I think we're doing pretty well. Oh, and the other thing that's going up, obviously, are books, materials. They're hitting us in weird ways with shipping and extra little costs that they didn't used to this with, so we're able to do less with more instead of more with less.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Great work. Well, Chief Dolman.
Good evening, everyone. For my budget for the year, I am at about 94%, which is very good considering part of my budget as of July 1, we added an officer that was not budgeted for this year. So we worked pretty closely to keep the costs down just in that we were going to be over budget because of that addition. We assumed at that time it would be approximately $40,000 to add that officer, but there are some other residual costs that come with that, with overtime, training, just general costs as far as our secretary having to do more reports, those types of things that kind of played into that as well. I anticipate with my budget to be at about 105% at the end of this year. And a part of that is with the addition of that officer in my budget, that wasn't budgeted for the beginning of the year. And then the other side of it, just like the rest of the department heads, just the general costs with heating and electricity, oil, gas for our squad cars, and that type of thing we were over. But it all has been adjusted and budgeted accordingly for next year. I did go through my budget and trimmed out some of the things that the previous administration had in it that either went unused or I didn't think was necessary. I was able to move around quite a bit of money to add into certain line items for gas and oil. We increased it from $13,000 this year to $18,500 for next year. And according to what we had for costs this year, that should fill that in. Some of the other costs as far as overtime, this year our budgeted overtime is $25,000. Last year our overtime costs were $76,000. This year, our current overtime costs are $36,000. And the reason those numbers are off or they're so skewed is because when we have departures or officers that leave or retire like we have new officers come in. There's generally more overtime. Officers have to cover up the shifts, those types of things. But that cost is usually offset by not paying a salary to an employee that left. So that occurred this year. We had the retirement, we hired people, there were some gaps in there. But we also have a $10,000 line item for part-time employees that we have not used at all. Getting full-time employees is extremely difficult right now, and getting part-time employees is impossible. So in our budget process, with helping Tracy and Sarah and the mayor is here, we did move around some of the overtime costs. The part-time costs, we increased that budget to $35,000 for next year. And that will more consistently cover, I think, what we need for next year. So there wasn't really I didn't have any type of increase in really the budget that I control outside of wages and benefits for next year. So I think next year is going to be a lot clearer picture as long as we don't have anybody leave and everything stays the way that it is, which I anticipate because everybody's happy. That the budget won't be so, my budget won't look so crazy on paper right now. I do have a few line items that are a little out of whack. Two of them specifically was something I inherited when I took the position in May with our clothing and uniform and our firearm supplies. There was a miscalculation. What was originally agreed to be budgeted next year did get budgeted for this year, and that ain't got to do with the previous administration. What the purpose or how that occurred, I don't know. But I sat down with Tracy, we corrected it right away, but that budget was already approved by the council at the beginning of the year, so it's left as it is so that we can track it, obviously. So that's over by quite a bit, and both of those things, one of them is the clothing and uniform, which is contractual. The officers in the union contract is $750 a year, so that was $5,700 some odd dollars, and the non-union get money as well. So there should have been a total of $6,500 into that line item, which it was not. It was at $950. So that was something that occurred before I took over as chief. And then the supplies and firearm, that was supposed to be, I'm sorry, the one before that was supposed to be $9,500. Firearm supplies was supposed to be $6,500. It was at $1,000. And those were ammunition and that we ordered 2 years ago because of the ammunition shortage. we knew that we weren't gonna be able to get anything, so we ordered it at the low price 2 years ago. And in fact, we just got a shipment of it today from ordering it back in 2021. So anyway, those numbers are a little off, but we're still gonna be under budget just because we had some other areas where we were able to save. And then, the overtime, we added up, so it'll be $35,000 for next year. Utilities and that obviously are something that we adjusted for the budget next year. We increased most of those areas from 20 to 25%, just based on current cost. I do see some of that going down, but at least what we would have been budgeting responsibly for, for next year. As far as our revenues goes, we're hitting most of our revenues. As far as what our goals were for those. And then I do have 2 line items that are way over. They have revenue that's coming in. One of them is equipment other, which is at 354%, which I have a $12,900 grant that should be here or on its way here shortly. That's approved by the state that will offset that. And then maintenance and vehicle account is way over by $4,000, but that was an insurance claim, which is, we got $6,500 for an insurance claim, and the officers didn't hear. So that's offset. So if we take some of those things into consideration, I'm below 94% up to date. If we add some of those revenues and move some of those numbers around, so I'm pretty happy with it. We're vigilant, and I know that Lisa has to hound us every day. We're vigilant. We order, we buy things, office supplies, and that. We shop around quite a bit. We buy from a lot of places with a lot of receipts and that. Amazon. We do try to find the cheapest prices. And Judy Bauer is excellent with using her savings points and everything else, and gets us $100 of free stuff every year just to be frugal and making sure we're being responsible with that. So, and we take that approach with everything. I do see some of our maintenance costs with squads and that staying lower or no, because most of our stuff is new under warranty, at least for the next couple of years. And that's kind of where we all sit. As far as our overtime, that's justified. We've taken over 500 more calls this year than last year at this time. Our call volume is way up. Our serious crime numbers are up by 150%. Just what we took in the last 3 months has been a lot of, if you go back 10 years, is a 1 year total that we took in the last 3 months. So having that detective in place right now is saving us a lot in overtime. And that isn't even the part that I look at. It's allowing us to put out a much better product to the citizens as far as service when we do have those serious calls. And our overtime, and some of the overtime even with our secretaries is reflected in that, so we put in that extra time. But all of those numbers have been adjusted, and I looked at it pretty closely before I made the decision where to put those for next year. So as long as things go smooth next year, I think we should be in really good shape. And I'm really happy with all of my officers and my staff this year. They really went above and beyond, making sure that we're doing things correctly and thoroughly. And a lot of times, we have a budget, but when we're service like the fire department and EMS, we don't always look at the budget. We look at the service that's needed, and sometimes we go over a little bit because of that. And I can say that I'm very confident in everything we've spent so far to date this year, that it is completely justified and done very responsibly. So, and I also want to thank fire and EMS, because there's a lot of things that we do and work that we get their help from, and they save us a lot of time and energy and money too with things that we got going on, and I'm very appreciative for that. So as far as that goes, that's about all I have for you. Any questions?
Yeah, you have heard problems with other departments' firearms just like going off. But we don't have that problem.
No, you mean like the officers having like an accidental discharge or something? No.
Not because of the.
Yeah, no, that all comes down to just your general atmosphere and training and supervision and all that type of thing.
I was under the understanding it was the equipment we had.
Oh, you mean like as far as like a certain brand of firearm or something that we have? No, we don't have any issues like that. all of our pistols, firearms, rifles, and that are updated. We buy them every 6 to 8 years. Everything gets kept, and maintained, so we don't have an issue with that.
Unrelated to the budget, you mentioned that serious crime is going to have to be regulated. Is there any comment on what's driving that? Why?
I wish I had the answer to that, specifically if you look at it from a demographic standpoint, or, I can't say there's anything that, I would change directly as far as patrol or anything that we would do, to go on the offensive with it. I think it's just a matter of the times and the overall expectation of what communities have of their law enforcement. We get called for more things than we did 10 years ago, and 10 years ago we got called more than we did 20 years ago. So I think that people rely on their law enforcement in smaller communities more than what they used to. I think social media and some of those things has, as far as the ease of reporting, and people feel more confident talking over that, reporting things that they got reported before. But generally, overall, I don't have anything specific as far as what would cause it directly.
Serious crime is many things.
I'm extremely happy with our police department and what's happened in the last year. But are you getting enough mutual aid help? Is Horicon able to, and the sheriff's department able to help when you need to or when needed? I noticed you're doing more of that.
Yes, we do have mutual aid agreements with Horicon and some of the other surrounding smaller communities. And they do help us, and we help them regularly. It's great. It's a good cooperation. The sheriff's department in itself has been really well at a good working relationship with the sheriff. I talk with him regularly. I'm in communities and that we meet monthly and those types of things. I would say overall it's good, really good.
Makes you more efficient.
Yes, and overall, with the drug task force and our involvement with that, and my personal involvement with that as the executive director of the oversight committee, we're much more involved in that than we were before, and we're far more effective. There's a lot more information sharing and, between our agencies and the sheriff's department and just all the agencies that hasn't occurred for a very long time. So, and that's just not my doing. That's just our overall cooperation and meeting regularly with these other agencies. And I will say overall, as a department, we are working much better and with the district attorney's office, crime victim information, witness services, and all that. Just with having a dedicated detective that's working Monday through Friday. And as I figured, he's got a good working relationship with the VA and with the other detectives in the county and federal officials and all those things. That's made us much more efficient as well. So overall, that detective position has been a big step for us in our department, and it's made our patrol officers much more confident and much more relaxed because they're not tasked with following through with serious incidents from the start to the finish, all while having the other calls hanging over their heads and all those types of things too. So we've got a long ways to go, but we're taking some big steps this year.
Yes, I noticed that you picked up on some of your predecessors' habits, like signing in as an officer when you're on duty.
Yeah, we have this one alderman that expects that, so it's
Well, he set the precedent. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Chief. Done great work.
Thanks, Doreen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it normal for me not to see anybody on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, all I see is a chair. I was just wondering. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. So with that, thanks, Chief. I've got two more other line items, and actually, Sarah, I could probably table the one about PFC, or or can we just move beyond it?
No, we should table it.
All right, so would somebody please move to table the PFC appointment?
I will make a motion to table it.
Thank you. Motion by
I'll second that motion.
second by Abbott. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion is tabled. Resolution 5833-2022, appointment to Park and Recreation Commission.
Whereas the mayor has accepted the resignations of Kelsey Ty, Bethany Fisher, and Matthew Weisenthal for the Park and Recreation Commission, whereas in accordance with Municipal Code 22-10A, the mayor shall appoint subject to confirmation of the common council. Therefore, the mayor hereby appoints Margie Sadler to serve on the Park and Recreation Commission for a 2-year term expiring October 1st, 2024. The other 2 seats remain vacant at this point. Now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Mayville does hereby approve the above mentioned mayoral appointments to the Park and Recreation Commission.
May I care to move to approve the
I'll
appointment?
make a motion to approve the appointment to Park and Rec.
Second it?
All right, Roger Smith seconds. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next item, clerk report.
Okay, spring election update. Starting December 1st, candidates for the local races were able to begin circulating nomination papers. This April, the position of alderpersons, Ward 1, 3, and 5 will be on the ballots. Please contact me to obtain papers, or they can be located at Wisconsin Election Commission's website. Nomination papers are due January 3rd, 2023. The deadline for incumbents to file non-candidacy forms is December 23rd, 2022. It is anticipated that the February primary will be required, which will be held on February 21st. The spring election will be held on April 4th. And then winter reminders, holiday hours, City Hall will be closed December 23rd, 6th, 30th, and January 2nd for the Christmas and New Year's holiday. Parking, please check out the ordinance on winter parking. Parking permits are available at City Hall for the city-owned lots. Snow and ice removal, the yearly notice was posted. Please read the notice so that you know your responsibilities as a home or business owner, so that everyone is safe this winter and you don't incur any unnecessary expenses. Tax bills were put in the mail today and payments have already started to trickle in. Please read the bill inserts for important city news and dates, as well as details on how to pay the tax bill. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Next item, to discuss and approve operators licenses for David Pollitt and Danielle Snyder. Oh, I guess I need to have a motion.
I just wonder, where is this?
Oh, the operators licenses are for a particular establishment?
They're bartender's license.
Oh,
Bart.
okay,
Okay.
sorry,
Got it. Okay.
thank you.
So, anybody care to
I will
move
make
to
a
approve?
motion to approve,
Motion,
providing everything checks out.
Jack Abbott, maybe a second?
I'll second.
All right. Chief, have you done the background on,
Yes.
both are good? Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item, Water and Wastewater Commission, no report tonight. Date and time of the next meeting will be Tuesday, January 10th, 2023 at 4 p.m. Library Board, I will scan and email the Common Council a report from Jennifer. Date and time of the next meeting is Thursday, January 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Public Works Committee, no report. Date and time of next meeting, Monday, January 23rd, 2023, immediately following the Finance Committee meeting. Personnel Committee, first item, Resolution 5835-2022, approve amendments to non-union employee handbook regarding meal allowance.
Whereas the Personnel Committee met on November 28th, 2022, and did recommend changes and updates to the employee handbook regarding meal allowance. Whereas this is a recommendation that Section 4.1 Travel Policy Meal Allowance be modified to the following. Receipts for meals, including the tip amount, need to be attached to the reimbursement claim form. No alcoholic beverages will be reimbursed at any time. Meal costs shall be reimbursed only if reasonably actually incurred in meeting the following guidelines. Breakfast, $15, including tax and tip. Lunch, $20, including tax and tip. Dinner, $25, including tax and tip. The maximum allowable tip is 20%. If a meal is provided with a conference, the meal allowance would not be allowed. Number 3, employees leaving the city in the morning or return the same evening are allowed only one meal, except that breakfast may be allowed if the employee leaves the city before 6:30 a.m. and the evening meal may be allowed if this return to the city is after 6:30 p.m. Now therefore be resolved that the common council of the city of Mayville does hereby approve the non-union employee handbook updates.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Second by Bob Smith. Is there any discussion? Does this require a roll?
We could.
All right, please take the roll.
Alderwoman Hinkle.
Aye.
Alderman Bob Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Roger Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Alderman Abbott. Alderwoman Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Date and time of the next Personnel Committee meeting will be Monday, January 23rd, immediately following Public Works Committee meeting. Public Safety Committee, there is no report tonight. Date and time of the next Public Safety meeting will be Monday, January 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. Finance Committee, monthly financial report and review of the bills.
Tracy just outlined in your packet, total ACH for the month of November is $138,81.99. Total of accounts payable checks for the month of November is $330,150.72. Total of payroll for the month of November is $203,127.33. The average employees for each payroll was 122.
So the reports came in late today and may have been at work when they came in. I may not have had a chance to really review, but if you have any questions after reviewing, feel free to email me. Tracy is in tomorrow, but I don't believe she's in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So forward your questions to me and they were sent. They got put in your packet this morning, I believe, late 10:30 or so. So we're gonna make a concerted effort to, in the future, to get these in days in advance, if at all. It's in your packet.
If they aren't, you gotta refresh it.
So, so with that, does anybody care to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the bill.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? So the review of the bills, there's no motion that's called for here. It's just a review.
I think we're technically supposed to have a motion to approve the bills though, because the council is the one approving
Okay.
the bills. Technically, they're already paid, so
Yep.
you're just approving the report of what was paid.
Sure. And again, know that you can email me if there are any questions and we'll work on getting them answered for you. So, did we make a motion? Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Please take the roll.
Alderman Abbott.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hinkle.
Aye.
Alderwoman Olson.
Aye.
Alderman Roger Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Bob Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right. Discuss with possible action, Resolution 5759-2022. Approve agreement with the ADP Payroll Services. So, do you have something to read there, Sarah? Or do we just provide an explanation?
No, Nolan, I haven't done anything with them.
So, the Common Council passed a resolution to agree to enter into an agreement with ADP to process our payroll. That project has been ongoing. It has been a complete failure, and we can attribute it to ADP's non-performance against the contract terms. I had Nolan review the contract terms, also review the lengthy list of items that cause substantial delay in this project. And the question to the Common Council is to consider having Nolan send a letter to ADP issuing our intent to kind of disband the agreement and move forward. And there's some implications and things that the attorney should probably bring forward to the council.
Just to reiterate, we're not in closed session right now. So all of this will be on the record as far as potential contract negotiations or renegotiations. Do you still want to proceed? It was not put on the agenda for closed session. I don't know if this agreement, did you guys get it in your packets or not? I think Sarah was able to add
Yes.
it.
Yeah, it's there.
I'm happy to go through what the mayor asked me to look into. I'm just saying that all this will be on the record here for public record.
I'm gonna ask Mr. Smith, Bob Smith, if he has any concerns about
Have we
proceeding.
paid them any money at all?
We have not.
No,
Is there any clause in there where we can just, sometimes there's a clause that within, for non-performance to just,
there's a 90-day termination that either party can invoke for any reason. There's a 60-day termination clause for cause, including material breach of the contract. So we would be sending them a 60-day notice outlining the breaches basically for not being able to get the system live and running in a timely manner, and proposing that if they want to terminate it sooner by mutual agreement, we can always do that by entering into basically a mutual termination agreement with ADP.
is that what the comptroller and the clerk, do you agree with that, Sarah?
Yes.
Doing this enough time?
I reviewed an email Tracy sent me that had a basic timeline of all the problems with ADP. I've reviewed the master services agreement, the contract that she signed on behalf of the city with ADP. As far as I can tell, it didn't provide for a specific deadline for the payroll to go live. Sarah, you're aware of, was there any specific date set?
No.
Okay, unless there was a date set was between, Tracy and ADP and some other communication or email after this agreement was signed. Basically, my understanding from the contract and just general provisions of contract law is that they had to get it up and running within a reasonable amount of time. First meeting was back in June. They still haven't run a live payroll, correct?
Right.
So at this point, I would say that's basis to say that they have not performed within a reasonable amount of time.
So maybe we should keep this private so that a non-disclosure agreement might be helpful, or, I'm sure they want to protect their reputation. We might use that as some kind of tool there. But yes.
That could be part of the communication to ADP if that's what the council wants to do. But again, everything we're discussing right now is for the public record.
I would say that we send the letter. just
So-
like the outline.
Bob Smith Bob Smith making the motion to send the 60-day letter. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Roger Smith. Any further discussion?
Do we have someone else
Our-
to
Yes.
to put in its place?
Well, we will continue forward with how we do payroll today, just on a newer version. So he does not miss any payrolls, right? Especially with all the changes coming about. So
The
primary.
clerk is capable of doing the
Yeah.
payroll now.
Yep, Sarah could do payroll and has agreed to assist. So in any case, we got a motion, we got a second. Any further discussion?
I would just ask that it be subject to review and approval by the mayor before it goes out.
I'll amend the motion to approve that.
Okay.
Whoever seconded it, is that okay?
Roger Smith?
I agree.
Okay.
Second amended motion.
All right, please take the roll.
Alderman Bob Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Roger Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Alderman Abbott.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hinkle.
Aye.
Alderwoman Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Resolution 5834-2022, approve the purchase of the SQL Server upgrade and installation quote, which we reviewed in last committee meeting.
Whereas the Finance Committee met on November 28th, 2022, and did recommend the quotes for the purchase of the updated SQL Server and installation. Whereas per the quote from Wise Guy IT, the cost of the server software and installation shall not exceed $4,963.69. Whereas said quote is attached here too, now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Mayville does hereby approve the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second by Reese. Is there any discussion? Please take the roll.
Alderwoman Hinkle.
Aye.
Alderman Reese. Alderman Bob Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Roger Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Abbott.
Aye.
Alderwoman Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Date and time, the next Finance Committee meeting will be Monday, January 23rd, immediately following the Public Safety Committee meeting. Park Board, next meeting, time and date will be Wednesday, January 4th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Planning Commission will meet next meeting, Monday, January 9th, 2023 at 5 p.m. Community Development Authority, date and time of next meeting, Wednesday, January 25th, 2023 at 6 p.m. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm making a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion by Reese, second by Hinkle. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Should we close
We're
the-
still in open
Oh, we're
session.
still in open.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Kim, are you able to start your committee meeting of the whole remotely, or would you like somebody here to do it?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and call the personnel meeting to order at 8:01 p.m. Roll call, please.
Okay, so just notice the personnel of the whole. So Alderwoman Olson.
Oh, here.
Alderman Reese.
Here.
Alderman Abbott.
Here.
Alderwoman Hinkle.
Here.
Alderman Smith.
Here.
Alderman Roger Smith.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Can I get approval of the minutes?
No minutes this time.
There isn't any there.
Citizen comments.
Okay. Are there any citizens' comments? Seeing none. Other items of discussion, possible action. Discuss with possible action, comptroller, treasurer job description and posting.
So in your packet, you will see there's the latest version of the comptroller treasurer job description. We have not yet posted it. I think there's a couple of items subject to review, one being prerequisite of having prior municipal accounting or government accounting experience. My recommendation would be to add that.
Just reading it over briefly. Has everybody had a chance to read this over?
Yes.
What did you want to add here?
A prerequisite experience with municipal or government accounting.
I think that's kind of in that second paragraph, not
It is.
that specific wording, but
Okay.
that covers it all in there.
Cool, thank you.
I'd say it looks good.
And then Sarah, have you, could you just kind of review where you're going to post it?
Sure. Generally, we do both the League of Municipalities, Wisconsin Clerks Association. We talked about doing the Treasurers Association. City website is free. State of Wisconsin is free. And then Indeed and the newspaper, if you want to pay for it, those ones have costs with it. There was also another one that the auditors suggested, which I haven't gotten more information on that yet. I'm not sure if there's a cost to it or not. So there's 9 or 10 different places that we can post it.
Okay. And these would be able to get out
Is it-
tomorrow?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Sorry, Kim, go ahead.
Sarah, is that how we did it the last time?
Yep.
How wide a net do we cast to attract a good candidate?
I think that net's going to go pretty much Wisconsin-wide, like in the right circles.
Yeah, but the clerk and the treasurer networks are statewide organizations.
What's the cost to advertise on Indeed? Do we know?
It depends how many impressions you want to make. It's very variable. Usually you have to set what your budget is, and then they kind of use that to gauge how many impressions and how visible it is.
So I mean, are we talking thousands? Are we talking hundreds?
I mean, usually we do hundreds.
Okay.
If we wouldn't get any qualified applications and it's got to run longer, obviously it's going to be more expensive.
Have we had success on Indeed in the past?
I would say that's probably where we get the majority of our candidates.
And I'd like to recommend that we consider advertising on Indeed.
Somebody want to make a motion? Can we do that, Sarah?
You can, yep, if you're done talking about it.
I will make, does this have to go?
This is a meeting of the whole, so yeah.
So we can make a decision.
To post that, yes, correct.
Okay. I will make a motion to go ahead with posting, including Indeed, the comptroller treasurer position.
I'll second that motion.
Can I just ask two questions? What is your budget on Indeed? And the other thing is some of those sites make you put a salary range. So I don't know if you've talked about a salary range at all.
So I said, the last time we did this, we didn't include Indeed until after we didn't have, till the second wave, when we didn't have enough applicants. Then we started talking about adding Indeed. This time, he's right, and she's right, we have to decide salary. Or we can use vague language about salary commensurate with whatever, but I think, yeah. So I think you have to put some kind of range. Are we comfortable with the range?
There's a few of the sites that require a range that you can't just leave it blank. Some of the postings require there to be a range in there.
Our employees, so we state official city policy book or employment manual that states a range for.
I don't think it has specifics, it just has ranks.
So
When it ranks, what does that mean?
Okay, can I amend my motion
Sure.
to go ahead with everything but Indeed until we decide on
salary range?
the,
In the state one requires, if I'm thinking off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure the state of Wisconsin one, which is a free resource, requires a salary range. I'm not even sure that Indeed itself requires a salary range.
What was
So
the range the last time when we?
Do we have it on that
I think it
posting?
was 50 to, it was kind of oblique, or it was kind of, I think it was 55 or something like that, up to 80, 75 or 85, depending on experience. We could come up with a range here.
you know, it's yeah.
We can bracket what she's getting now. And make it subject to experience and so forth. And you can always add a line that indicates that we can go outside of that range if we find a star applicant or something.
I think that go to market range, I think a 55 to 75 is a reasonable number. And then depending on what responses we get, and the quality and the talent, we'll, reserve the right to negotiate as
I don't
needed.
think I'd want to start at 50. That would discourage. I know of a number of places that are searching for financial officers now. Sometimes when you put a number that's much lower than what you're paying now, you indicate to people we'd like to give more.
So what would you
I
like?
think we stay more realistic. I think we say 60, 62, something like that.
62.5.
Right, up to And what's the most we pay if we find somebody who?
85.
80 or 85. I would say I'm comfortable with that,
Okay.
but I'm only one person.
So is that a motion or an amendment to the motion?
62,500
Well,
62.5
to 85.
to 85 at the top end.
So
But that line about subject and commensurate with ability and experience.
So what, how do we know that?
Sarah, did you happen to look this up at any point?
Nope,
What about,
no, I haven't.
okay,
I think we should include, did we require a degree last time? Sarah?
I think we ended up changing it. We originally required a degree, but we couldn't find anybody who had a degree. So we changed it to say that it was preferred.
Preferred degree or at least an associate.
Yeah,
So-
bachelor's degree in accounting preferred or an associate degree with 3 or more
Well, that
years
language is
experience.
still- yeah, yeah.
So from the standpoint of how do we know what's normal on the wage range for this type of job? Do we have that data somewhere?
Well, we looked it up last time. And that's what and we used that same range when we gave, Tracy her raise and her salary.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
Uh,
Is there any chance it's gone up?
Probably,
With
we'll
the challenge?
we'll end up, oh yeah, a lot of times we negotiate, but that's why I don't want the low number to be so low that it discourages people from saying, I'll do it, because when they apply, they put salary required or expected on there. Isn't that right,
So-
sir? Most applicants put the salary required.
We have that line on the city application, so we usually ask them to fill it out. Yeah.
So Jack, this is your
Okay,
amendment to accept or not?
I will amend my motion to include salary range between 62,500 and 85,000. Commensurate with experience.
Roger, were you saying that?
I will second that as well.
Okay.
Sarah, do you have anything to add?
No, we just didn't clear up the Indeed. Are we keeping it on Indeed? If so, what is the budget?
So my recommendation is to keep it on Indeed. I would think it'd be a good idea to do that right from the
Yeah.
get-go.
I will
You know,
re-include that.
How much do you want your budget to be?
Do you have an estimate?
I would say 200 is gonna get you somewhere.
I would say 500 is
Yes.
what we do now.
Number I had in mind.
Increase it later. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Buy what you can.
Do you have a date, a closing date, or just until position is filled?
I think you can do both. I think you put the closing date being optimistic, and then you say or until the position is filled in case you don't get any applications.
What's an optimistic date?
It's the holidays, so it's kind of busy.
Give it 2 months.
Why don't we
I don't think you want to give it 2 months.
No.
You get it 30 days roughly from today, give or take a little bit, it puts you in the middle of next month.
we'll have had the chance to review on the 9th or whatever our next meeting is in January too, so.
And then we do the same thing we did before, have you and somebody else preview these and wean out the,
Yeah, what I did in the past was kind of did a spreadsheet of just general info on each person.
I would like you to do that again if you're willing,
Mhm.
but we have to put that in some kind of language. Jack, do you understand what we're talking about?
30 days. Yes.
The last time we had openings, Sarah and some of the office help looked over the applications and
Make recommendations.
they scored them and made recommendations and weaned out the ones that were, do we want police to check out any, to see if there's any obvious, we've had a few of those. So.
I mean, so any hire is going to be subject to a background check.
And we usually don't have Ryan check them out until I sign that form.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to cover all
That's
of it.
all.
Yeah. All right, do we have enough data for the motion?
Yep.
So we have moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Please take the roll.
Let's,
Oh, Kim, go ahead.
no, go ahead, I'm good.
Okay.
Okay,
Alderman Abbott,
All right.
Alderman Roger Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Bob Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hinkle,
Aye.
Alderwoman Olson,
Aye.
motion carries 6-0.
thank you.
Okay, moving on. Discuss with possible action, city clerk job description and posting.
This is pretty much the same. Same type of situation. So do we have a pay range for that?
Pay range is slightly less, not much less. I would say with the mayor first outlined would be more practical.
55 to 75.
Right. Although city clerks a lot of times start at 47 to 50, but I don't know how practical that is today. Unless they have a bunch of initials behind their name. I don't know, Sarah, what is starting wage for a clerk these days? About 55, 60?
I would say the West Bend just hired a clerk starting at 85, and
Well, I
that's
know
West
some
Bend.
people are getting very-
So, but I mean, I'm saying in comparison, West Bend is how many times bigger than Mayville? Quite a bit.
I'd say we're comparable to Sheboygan, Columbia
So we're way smaller than Sheboygan.
County, though. Just county-wide.
Oh, sure. Kewaskum, Columbus are almost identically sized and structured cities. I don't know exactly what they make, but I would think 55 to 65 is reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in that range and I've been here for 6.5 years.
I agree with that.
55 to 65? Starting? The starting wage?
Well, that's,
Well, it's the hiring wage and each year they'll go through the,
same tagline of subject to experience and.
Yeah.
And, I don't think we require any, do we require any degrees or any?
No.
certifications?
It says the certification and stuff is desired.
I mean, this is gonna be a role, if we get somebody who's new to it, we're gonna have to expect to invest in education and getting these certifications and probably build an income structure that gives them incentive to get more certifications as time goes forward.
And the council members, I've done this in the past, some of them have. If you go on the state of Wisconsin site, you can Google or search for wages of city employees, village employees, and you can put in the positions, and they will tell you, you get a whole big, long list of all the cities and towns in the state and what they pay. You'll get an idea from that.
We'll do that on Job Center of Wisconsin.
Yeah, you can get that. If we don't have any luck with our ads, and you think you want to, we might have to adjust.
So is everybody good to start at 55 to 65? Is that the number? Yeah.
And do you want to do the same with Indeed?
Indeed, same
May as
budget for
well.
Indeed.
I would think so.
And other variables that we need to address.
We don't indicate any of the benefit programs, vacation, or any of that. That's specific to the applicant.
Some of the sites, when you fill in the posting, you have to click, like insurance available, vacation available, like it asks you what's available.
Okay, well, I think we put those things in.
Yeah, they would just have
What
a-
we give.
right. Yep, standard city full-time benefits.
All right.
Somebody make a motion on this one?
Yes, I'm-
No.
Okay.
You're the guy.
Jack's making the
I'll
motion.
make the motion to post the comptroller job,
No,
Clerk.
city clerk.
City
Clerk.
clerk.
or the clerk, I'm sorry. With wages between 55 and 65 for the 30 days on Indeed, also with a $500 limit.
Do we have all of it? Any other variables?
That's fine.
Anybody second the motion?
I'll second it.
Or Hinkle? Any further discussion?
Instead of 30 days, can we just, like, I'm looking at the old one here, and it put a specific date of May 27th. Can we just put a specific date of like January 15th or whatever the last business day is floating around there, just so that way it's, you know, concise and not just like a 40-day period? And they have a-
Jack, are you good with that?
January 13th would be the Friday. January 16th is a Monday.
We did it on the 16th, we have time for the rest of the week to review applications and figure it out.
Before committee.
Yeah. You wanna do that with your first, the one we already passed to? Use that date?
Are we able to retro, go back and revisit that?
We can do that.
Okay.
One question though, if you get some good applications, are you gonna review them sooner than 30 days?
Yes.
That's my thought. If I'm gonna be here, it would be helpful to have somebody come in sooner than later if you find somebody rather than waiting.
Can we interview people if we put a closing?
That's
date?
what I'm worried about.
Okay, that's the legal part of it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Sometimes there's a tagline in there,
So we should
or
leave it
until
open-ended
position is
then?
filled. What's that?
Is that what you're saying?
So the contention is that by adding a date, it would restrict our ability to move quickly. We would have to wait till we interview everybody until that date. By not putting that date on there, we would be able to interview as they come in the door.
Well, can we interview as they come in the door without making a decision until the date?
And we can withdraw, there's language you can put in there that we will be accepted, the closing date for applications is such and such, and we will take applications as there's a language, I've seen this.
Interview.
Yeah, and that the position may be filled at any time at the discretion of we can withdraw we're not bound to take.
You can shut it
If
off.
somebody doesn't
Yeah,
send in an
You
application.
can put on it.
I don't know if there's any specific rule on that that's generally applicable. I'd have to look into that. But I'm familiar with the language you're talking about. You put in the job listing that it says, applications accepted until X date or until the position is filled,
Right,
something
right.
like that. And I don't know if that's something that we've done before with other city positions where we found an applicant and hired them.
I don't think so.
Like I said, off the top of my head, I'm not aware of any specific law relating to, municipal hiring that says you have to keep applications open till X date. I think it's the same as
Sometimes
any other
if the
private hiring
language
process.
used indicates that you're holding the job open until a certain thing, then you're kind of bound to it. But
Yeah, then you might have an applicant who says, well, the listing said X and I applied and then I wasn't considered, you might have an issue. So I think as long as you put the language stating that it's open or unless, until such date or until the position is filled, I think you'll be okay unless you want me to look into it any further.
I'd
Do we
like
still
to,
want to set a date, or do we want to put 30 days on it? Do we have a specific date, or run it for 30?
So the other option, I think, is that we don't put any date on it, but we know that we have a certain time in which we want to accomplish filling that position. So,
I think that's a sound approach.
officially, I like that.
I like that as well.
Okay, Jack, is-
One more thing.
yes, Kim.
I'm only seeing the line that says, if there's anything else pertaining more to this, works with the deputy clerk to purchase or oversee the purchase of office supplies. I would think the clerk does more than just that, the deputy clerk. Than just oversee. Is there anything else that anybody sees?
I mean, I will say that the position description is from 2007. It's evolved quite a bit from what it shows on that piece of paper.
So can we do a catch-all of just other duties as assigned?
I think that there's one on there, other duties as directed by the mayor, common council.
Is that okay with everybody?
And go over this.
Okay.
All duties required by statutes.
Okay, all right.
All right, so Jack, have you presented your motion?
Okay, I guess, do I have to?
Has he?
Yeah, just if you want to amend it to take
Amend
out
it.
the 30 days or
Take
to
out
put in
30
until
days.
position is filled.
Take out the 30 days and until we accept,
Until the position is filled.
until the position is filled.
Okay. Did we have a second prior?
Yep.
Was it Molly?
Yep.
Molly, are you good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Do we do a roll call on this?
We probably should.
Sure.
Okay.
Alderman Abbott,
Aye.
Alderwoman Hinkle,
Aye.
Alderwoman Olson,
Aye.
Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Bob Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Roger Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, get back up here. Can I get a motion to go into closed session at 8:26 PM?
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second
We do roll call on this, correct, Sarah?
Correct. Yep. Alderwoman Hinkle,
Aye.
Alderman Reese, Alderwoman Olson,
Aye.
Alderman Abbott,
Aye.
Alderman Bob Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Roger Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. We're gonna convene into closed session